Hi everybody, it's Eric, founder of 30 by 40 Design Workshop. Today I wanted to spend a little time going into more detail on siting your building and actually go through the process of doing it with a project of mine. And this project is, it can be found on my website. It's called the Longhouse, and it's my own house. And I want to walk through really the specifics of how I came to the concept here. And if you follow along on my website, you can find images of what this looks like. But basically, the property started off, and you can see in this diagram, is a wedge lot. And it's not uncommon to find a subdivision that has sort of lot by lot by lot by lot. And so this is no different. There's about 5 lots in this particular subdivision. And the reason we purchased it was because it was an affordable site. And there's basically 3.5 acres of wetland and a ½ acre of buildable site. So it was affordable to us, and that's why we ended up purchasing it. But what it means is there are a lot of restrictions. And as you can see here, the property sits next to 2 lots. It's an interior lot, and one of the pieces of property was built up already when we moved here. And that's the property to the east of us. And so you can see that in itself is a restriction. And actually, not long after finishing the house, their property to the west of us was purchased, and that was developed as well. So you can see here my lot lines. I've created those. And what I've done is basically come up with a diagram of the site. And I want to walk through that here. So here's the basic shape of the lot. And you can see it's this sort of wedge-shaped piece, and it continues sort of off in this zone here. So the buildable footprint is quite small. The red line here indicates the edge of the wetland. This light blue line that runs across here is an access drive. So we have, there's a right-of-way for all the other properties over our piece of property here. Now, all of this zone out here is all wetland. So we were quite restricted in where we could build. So we knew we were building in here. Now the second thing really that you have to start looking at is setbacks. So we know we have a side yard setback here, and I believe the side yard setback is 10 feet in this town. So that further restricts us here. We know we're not building on the access drive, so that's out. So we're really starting to get really limited here. Now, we also have to take into account where north is, and north on this plan is sort of facing in this direction here. So we know where north is. We know where south is. We know we have a neighbor here. We know we have another neighbor, or the potential of another neighbor, somewhere over in here. So this lot next to me kind of comes like this, and their access is going to be here. Now, the advantage I have is I know that this is all wetland for them as well. So they have pockets of wetland. So I know they're going to be building here. So this suggests that I probably don't want to orient my house so that I'm looking at them. I probably don't really want to orient my house so I'm looking at them. And I have the solar aspect to consider as well. So given those factors, and thinking about where we might site our building, we really started looking to the sun to say, you know, it probably makes sense to orient our building so that we can capture all of this light. And we also have these great views of the forest this way, and there's actually some really beautiful views of the forest this way. There's all these wetlands in here, and this sort of drains this plain, and this is all sloping downhill in this direction. So we know we have a slope running across here. We know we're sort of fixed where our driveway access is, so we know that our driveway is coming in this zone here. So this will be the more public side of the house, no matter what we do. And we want to take advantage of the sun that's moving, rising in the east, setting in the west. We have all this daylight to gather. One of the things we did at this point was to say, okay, how are we going to get maximum benefit from all of these constraints? We know we want a view here. We know we want to open up to this south light. And we know we're going to have this be the real public face of the house. We started looking around the site at the vegetation. There's a lot of trees here. There's a coniferous forest, pretty heavily wooded through here. But there's this band of birches that sort of ran in this zone. And these fallen birches were sort of everywhere. It made good sense to site our building somewhere in here. We had to do less clearing. We could then given the way the topography is sloping off, we put our septic field downhill. There's no public sewer here, so we need to put in our own septic field. When you gravity feed a septic field, which means all of your plumbing sewer lines run out of your building into the septic field, it's less costly. So you don't have to worry about pumping sewage uphill to a disposal field. So this made sense. We have this sort of fallen, cleared area, semi-cleared area already of birches here. We can place our septic field here, and we started thinking about a layout where our house would orient east and west on this east-west axis. And the longer we made this, the more we could take advantage of this really beautiful forest on this end, this beautiful wetland here, which we know is never going to be developed over here. So we have these two forest pieces, and then we know we're going to have a driveway entrance, so we know we're clearing this area in here. So we know this is going to be filled with lots of light. We have this great space to gather light on the whole south side. The longer we make the house, the more of these opportunities we can exploit. We can really get these very private views on either end of the house off to this private forest. We have some screening trees here. We have screening wetland here. And we can start to lay out the living spaces so that they really start to gather this light. We can separate private ends of the building from a real public forecourt access. And that sort of led us to this plan.